Welcome back inside Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert columnist for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. Chris, I think it's only fitting that it's raining, dreary, and kind of miserable here as we stand on the Gillette Stadium field, because obviously that pretty much encapsulates or summarizes what happened Monday night in Kansas City. First of all, as you wrap up what your impressions were of Monday night, how does this team move forward?
I think ultimately this week sets up to be a real test for them. I think last week, the less said about that game, the better. If you're a Patriots fan, they were dominated on both sides of the ball. I think the only worthwhile thing you could take out of that game is you had a decent special teams performance out of Ryan Allen, Matthew Slater, Brandon LaFell, 6 catches for 119 yards. I thought he showed well. Really his first extended action as a member of the Patriots passing game. I thought he played well. The rest of the team didn't show up, and I think the final score reflected that.
Okay, Bill Belichick here on Wednesday was asked, is there point blank enough talent around Tom Brady to get the job done? Is there enough offensive line depth, certainly on the perimeter of the offensive line to help Tom Brady, enough weapons for Tom Brady? And all Bill Belichick would say, and I think we counted it, 11 or 12 were on to Cincinnati references. That's not a surprise. The man's been doing that for 15 years as head coach here in New England. When he says we're on to Cincinnati, my question to you, Chris, is how many people in that locker room believe we're on to Cincinnati? What happened Monday night doesn't matter.
I think the older guys do. The guys that spoke today, the Matthew Slaters, the Devin McCourtys, those types, the guys that have been around here for a few years, the guys who have kind of ridden that roller coaster of emotion, with a big loss, big win, that kind of thing. I'm really going to be anxious to see how the younger guys respond to this. The first-year guys, the second-year guys, the third-year guys, to see how they react to a difficult situation. I know that, and we've talked about this before, the teams the last couple of years, particularly last year's team, really distinguished itself by its mental toughness, and they were able to kind of will themselves to a place that I don't think a lot of people thought that they could ultimately get to. I think the jury's still out when you're talking about the 2014 team as to whether or not they'll be able to rise to the occasion like last year's team did.
Tom Brady also spoke, as he normally does, Chris, on Wednesdays, and he was asked, is there enough talent around you? What do you think of what's been building around you, and do you have confidence that it can be done? That things can be turned around here. And Brady went into a very interesting description of what other teams have in terms of payroll, #1 draft picks, and organizational depth. And I read into it what you will, but that could be a shot very subtly at how the Patriots have built their roster.
I think that there's a little reading in between the lines there when you're talking about what he does or what he said, and what he says really every Wednesday to some extent. I think on paper, you're looking at the skill position area. You're looking at wide receiver, you're looking at running back, you're looking at tight end. I think the Patriots stack up very favorably. I'm not going to say across the entire league, but when you're talking about the AFC, I think the Patriots are right there with the Broncos, and a little bit ahead of that group. You might include the Bengals if they keep winning. You might include the Bengals in that group. But just in terms of pure talent on the offensive side of the ball, the Patriots stack up very favorably with anyone across the league.
See, I just very respectably disagree with that because I think that Brady doesn't have the weapons beyond an injured Gronk who's still 8 months out removed from ACL surgery, Julian Edelman, who is a tremendous slot receiver, one of the most dependable at that position in the National Football League. But I am one of the many who wonders why Aaron Dobson can't get on the field when this team is begging for a downfield threat. Why can't he get on the field?
I think when you look at that game specifically, you look at the Kansas City game specifically, I think one of the reasons why you didn't see Dobson on the field, and there are a lot of reasons, there's a handful, but one of the first ones, at least for me, that came to mind was the fact that offensive line being what it is, you're not going to take a lot of 5- and 7-step drops. You're not going to be heaving the ball downfield an awful lot, and so consequently, you built your roster such that you're going to have an extra wide receiver. So if you're taking a look at those guys, that's the guy who's going to be inactive. I think the interesting guy for me was KT. I think the fact that he offers a lot in this passing game, I think he could work very well as a complementary guy, that third or fourth wide receiver, not third or fourth wide receiver, but third or fourth option in that passing game behind Edelman, behind Gronkowski, behind Vereen. I think what your point before, though, you look at Edelman, he's the best, one of the best in the league at what he does, 100 catches last year. You look at a healthy Gronkowski. I know that there's a big difference there. Healthy Gronkowski. You look at Stephen Ridley and Shane Vereen. Those are two very dynamic offensive options. that foursome puts them, I think, miles ahead of most of the other guys in the AFC when you're talking purely about offensive options, when you're talking about guys around the quarterback.
As it starts to pick up in intensity in terms of the rain down here at Gillette, so has the criticism of the offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels. You wrote about it on WEEI.com. This has not been a good 4-game stretch to start 2014 for the Patriots offensive coordinator.
It really hasn't. I think the play calling has been suspect on a number of levels. I looked at one of the numbers that really stood out to me is they've been faced with 3rd and 3 or less about 20 times over the course of the first 4 games, and they've passed the ball more often than they've run it. And I think it goes back to what I was saying before. They need to trust themselves. They need to trust the run. They need to run the ball more. They need to develop an attitude, an intensity, and that comes with run blocking. I think you have a chance to be a little bit more physical. You have a chance to be a little bit more of an edge when you run the ball. I think they have the options to run the ball. I'd like to see them do more of that this weekend.
All right. In short, Tom Brady says the problems that the Patriots have, he hopes they're correctable. He didn't say they are correctable. He hopes they're correctable, and we'll see.
That was the phrase that stuck with me. He said, we'll see. We heard that from a couple other guys in the locker room, most notably Matthew Slater. Talked about, are these things correctable? Can they fix this? Can they take care of these? The veterans in that locker room, the guys who've been around here for a while, the guys who've been through the wars for this team, they said, we'll see. And that was the key phrase that came out of that locker room.
And you know what, Chris? If I hear that as a fan, I don't get warm, fuzzy feeling. I get this feeling that's pelting down on us right now, a cold, wet, damp feeling. And we'll, obviously, to echo what Brady said and what the veterans told you inside the Patriots locker room on Wednesday, we'll see. Move on quickly to the 3-0 Cincinnati Bengals, the only undefeated team in the AFC, one of 2 in the NFL. I look at this team and I look at Gio Bernard, and I asked Bill Belichick about this. They use him in many different ways, and I had a chance to talk to Marvin Lewis on Wednesday. It takes the pressure off Andy Dalton.
They have a very complementary offense. I think that's the phrase that comes to mind when you're talking about Cincinnati and what they do on the offensive side of the ball.
And what the Patriots, I think, wish they had.
Exactly. I think that they have the options in the passing game. They have the options in the running game to really present a good offensive balance. When you're talking about how to go about best defending them, you talk about guys like Gilbert, or you talk about guys like A.J. Green. They have multiple options that you have to take into consideration when you're talking about defending.
All right, they are 3-0. Don't forget these 2 names on their offense as well. That would be Mohamed Sanu, their wide receiver, to complement A.J. Green on the other side, and Jeremy Hill, the rookie out of LSU, has been very impressive as the Thunder part of the Thunder and Lightning running combo that they have. We'll find out if the Patriots can get their problems resolved. I don't think it'll be raining like this, Chris, on Sunday night. We hope not anyway. We hope it's a good game. We'll see if the Patriots can get things going back in the right direction against the Cincinnati Bengals. Inside a rainy Gillette Stadium, for Christopher Price, I'm Mike Petraglia, WEEI.com.